Hey guys, it's Ashley Bornancin here with the Red Carpet Report. We're at Disney Studios today on the set of TNT's show Perception, catching up with the cast and getting some sneak peeks on season 2.
Hi, Deanna.
Good to see you.
You're on that end.
Okay. Hi, Ashley. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
It's JD.
Hi, JD. Very, very tiny. Also, there's a light. Oh, wait.
For a second, I thought you remembered my name. I got very impressed.
Thank you.
Then I remembered we had these things.
Someone want to start?
I think I'm going to use this recorder. I'm moving on the So how has it been to get back into season 2?
We've been going since February, and it's just, I don't know what I'm going to do when we stop. I'm just so into it now, and it's not like a hardship or I'm out of town or something. I live 5 minutes from here, so this is just my life now, and it's going to be I'm crashing down.
So we've seen it, but could you give a little tease of what fans can expect from the premiere?
Well, the premiere is about, I figure, somewhere around 8 or 9 months after we finished last time. But really, we really hinted at where I was going. The real life manifestation of Natalie, Caroline, and Pierce are now both. It's a very big deal. One very big deal that he's on his meds. Very big deal for even anyone living with paranoid schizophrenia, even when they're on their meds, to be able to connect like that. So he's in a great place, and of course, within an act or two, he screws it up. Because he just, as he warned us from the pilot on, he doesn't like how it feels to be on meds. He doesn't like how it feels to be controlled, which is a problem that a lot of people living with the condition have, is that they feel better for a while and then they feel put down, and they feel freer and truer to themselves. So he goes off, and by the end of the episode, we are back to the Pierce we recognize.
Which made sense, because I was like, that's the show. Like having the people talk to him. And
right.
It's kind of, I was like, how is this going to work? But of course, he's not going to stay sane.
He's not going to stay sane, and I heard the greatest quote. Ellen Sachs, Dr. Ellen Sachs, who I've mentioned a lot in interviews as someone I based a lot of the character traits on. She's a USC professor who is living with paranoid schizophrenia. Wrote a book called The Center Cannot Hold, which was really informative. But she presented me with an award in the last few weeks at UCLA in the neuroscience department for this. And she said something in her speech that I just thought nailed this show, which is that if you take away my demons, you take away my angels too. And that's kind of how it is with Natalie. That when the symptoms go, she goes with them. And as she said to them in the end of last year's season, you have to let me go. He doesn't.
Where things ended up at the end of last season, I mean, were you pretty anxious to see where it was going to help this?
Well, I knew we couldn't have him too healthy. Because that is just a show about a guy who teaches college. But it's so I knew that would happen, but how it was going to happen, I didn't know. And I think when Ken Giller said, there's no reason that we can't have Natalie and Caroline too. It was like,
Oh, no kidding. I was like, I just hope that's really her. And of course, it's gotten better than that. They're both there. But we're not going to say that.
No, we're not. I appreciate it.
So we got to see a little bit about how you felt about your, the schizophrenia in this episode. How do you think your character feels about people knowing? Do you think it's something he's trying to hide a lot, or?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that I was surprised about. I said to Ken, this comes out in the courtroom scene with Scott, then it's out. Then, now how does that going to affect his status at the school? Well, luckily, this season, LeVar Burton is in most every episode. He's fantastic as the dean, and we sort of established at the end of last season, we reestablished this time what good friends they are, how old friends they are, and that the university is a safe place for years. So the revelation that he's living with this, as Natalie says, it was not actually as big a deal as it turns out, and people do have more advanced ideas than they were before. For him, I think it was I loved the hubris of of someone who is a neuroscientist having shame
Yeah.
about having a mental illness. Of all people, he should be the one to say, but that's women complicated.
Yeah.
I'm interested in me. So having to break through that and realize that it may actually benefit him to be out of the closet a little bit mentally.
And will we see that as the season progresses, since he's been outed?
There are going to be some ramifications. With an episode we're shooting coming up that will truly be a ramification of his being outed as someone living with.
So as audience members, we get to see, when you're having a hallucination, the camera gets blurry. How is that for you as an actor? Like, how is that preparation? It seems like a really hard role to play. What's the preparation? Like you said, you talked to the UCLA Medical Center.
Yeah.
Did you meet people that were schizophrenic?
Well, Ellen Sachs herself, her book is very descriptive about how it feels, and the key is that, we might do some camera effects for the audience's sake. There's no camera effects in his brain. It's just you.
Yeah.
You're just there. And then, if I reference you and you look at an empty chair and go, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Only then do I go, holy shit. That's the key, is that all of these things, for people living with it, it's all real.
Yeah.
The voices are real, the manifestations are real, their paranoia is real. And what sets him apart is because he is a neuroscientist, because he does have enough self-consciousness, he can. And because sometimes there's going to be some great hallucinations this season, and some of them are clearly not really there, and that's where it gets kind of fun.
Yeah.
But for the ones that could be anybody, it's shocking to him. It's more shocking to him sometimes than the audience, who might be looking for it. So for me, it's just about believing. It's not about having to do any growth. It's more that it's those moments where he realizes that you're not really there and that no one else can see you, that he has to get past and then readjust.
Has this affected your real life at all and how you see people? There was a quote in one of the teasers, I remember, of like, perception is just however you choose to perceive something. How have you changed in your perception on life in your real life?
I definitely think that we see people talking to themselves all the time. We really always have. We always have, And we, particularly if they were homeless people or whatever, or all questionable, there was a sense of, that's crazy. I see that stuff now with a much more empathetic eye. And I've got a kid in the back seat who's like, Dad, look at that guy. He's probably. And I first thing out of my mouth will be, no, you understand that. He's talking to somebody. The person he's talking to is there. That, it will, to outward appearances, be crazy. To him, he's having a conversation, and he might very well be saving his own life by telling, because so often, particularly with voices, you're like in Ellen Sachs' case, hearing horrible things, demon voices telling them that they're not worth it or that they're going to kill somebody, and so they're overcoming in those moments things that, and I never would have thought of that before.
But his voices are always kind of helpful. I mean, we haven't seen him being pushed into a corner, and maybe that's because we've only seen him kind of decompensating, and then he gets help.
Exactly. Well, part of it too was a conscious desire to break the stigma a little bit. So often the stigma is violent voices creating violent behavior, and that's what we've seen in a lot of television shows, and that person ends up being the guilty part. In this, it's not always the case, and in fact, Dr. Sachs did a bunch of experiments with high-functioning people like herself, that were holding down jobs, running charitable organizations, functioning in society at a very high level, and how did their stuff manifest itself? And sometimes it was, I wouldn't say positive, but it wasn't demons. It was just other opinions. It was other voices. It was noise. His can be very helpful. And that's the thing. That's the fun part. Is I keep saying we always have these great fun guest stars playing. In this episode, I've basically imagined a World War II colonel, like a Patton kind of character. And I said to him, remember, you're me. You're just me. I mean, all of these hallucinations are just my own voice talking to me. You're a manifestation of me. And so when you think about it that way, particularly in television, characters, we can stereotype ourselves. We can get to the point after a couple of seasons where, this is what my character would do in this situation. You realize that we all have a lot of voices in our head telling us. We have angry voices, and we have voices of doubt, and we have moments of strength. But I get to actually have them physically manifested as a woman, as a child, as a criminal, as Joan of Arc, as whatever, and that's so cool. It gives them something, and it gives me something to remember that I'm not just imagining a historical character. It's a piece of my brain.
Is there a dream, like, disorder you'd love to address in an upcoming episode?
A dream disorder?
Like,
That's
you know,
good. I
or
don't
like
think we
a
have done a
challenge.
dream thing. You mean, is there a
Or like,
hallucination?
I meant
Should be
like
like
a
a
dream of
fantasy.
yours.
Like something you would like
yeah.
to get into.
Yes, of course. I think I should hallucinate a dominatrix. I don't know why we're waiting so long. Did you talk to Delegation?
It seems like you have to become an instant expert on a lot of these topics. Like, how do you, especially as an actor, do you do a ton of research on these different disorders in order to believe what you're saying?
With these scripts, with these writers, so much of it is done for, and because we don't just throw words around, we make sure the audience understands. Often, I know almost as much as I need to know strictly from the exposition that I have to, and it's part of his voice to expositize in a way that's entertaining. Yeah, exactly. It's in a classroom, that helps, or it's educating. Scott Wolf's character is educating the victim or something like that. So it's.
I wanted to ask this actually a two-part thing. First of all, the show is really about the team. At first, how is their relationship different this season? And that you may get into this, but the other thing is, how is Scott Wolf's character going to become? Because he's kind of standoffish at the beginning, but you've got a whole season ahead.
No, I kill him off in the next episode. we didn't want to tell him.
And then he's in the hallucination.
We give him some scenes here and there, just to keep him happy. It's interesting. He was referenced last season. We found that Moretti had an ex-husband. So bringing him in has been so interesting because it gives so often what happened with Kate last season is she was forced into a kind of, how'd you figure that out, Professor? Kind of role. And I said to her, I said, you could take, if you take her out of the show, it's a show about a guy that lectures at a university. You could take me out of the show and still have a crime show.
Right.
She says, it's crucial. She is the crime solver, and having him there as someone to butt heads with in her world. I think gives her a lot more strength and drive, and sometimes I can be the sidekick to her in a crime solving scene, as opposed to always being,
And
so
is
it
the
does become
romantic element over?
Yeah.
The romantic?
I mean, because there was.
I thought you said romantic, and I said that's just starting. We have only begun to fight.
But she decided she liked him better than the guy, or he really realized it. But then he started dating the psychiatrist. And,
you guys know better than anybody. We have to stretch this out until for many seasons. So it's still there, and I think what I discovered in tweeting and stuff last summer during the show, that people are drawn to this, which is great. That's what you hope for. But you can't do anything with that right now. So there's lots of roadblocks and lots of things, and we do get into it because of Scott's character. He comes in.
But I would think that would.
He comes in looking for some, looking to get back, and what he sees is, what the hell is this? So he sees stuff that the audience sees that even Kate and Daniel don't see. So that's a fun new perspective on it.
So she has a little more, I don't know if control is the word, but bearing on how things go this season.
I think, she'll
Although she was the one who always jumped off buildings and did crazy. She didn't do that in this episode. Are we going to be seeing her do that this week?
At the moment, not at the moment, as you know. It's out there, but, so no, building jumping is out. There's going to be a lot more ice cream eating sequences, probably.
And you guys hiding it?
I mostly just walk in front of her. Shoot high.
Carrying big files.
Because there is so much to talk about on the show, I mean, you get a lot of fun fan feedback from the characters.
Especially with the schizophrenia,
the live tweeting was really informative last year because it isn't just people saying, "Oh, what's going to happen next?" It's people learning cool things, which we always think, ER taught you cool things, but there's something about learning brain stuff, learning about things that could explain someone you knew 20 years ago. That's what I must have had, right? I mean, I just find, and I find every script I get, I'm like, who knew this? This is so cool.
Do you ever find like your family members or like your friends being like, "All right, Eric, you got to fill me in. What do you think's going on in my brain?"
No one's actually asked me for too much share. But a lot of the stuff they're coming up with this year is very, I don't want to say ripped from the headlines, but it is kind of stuff that I have heard of. We did an episode about collective blindness, the idea that 45 people can be at a subway platform and no one will see someone get murdered because no one's paying attention, and how that manifests itself at a sporting event.
And will we see him in peril? It's like, because that was a big part of last season, both physically but also psychologically in peril. It was kind of
I would say more so this year than last year, and I said that to Ken. I said, if I'm just a detective that's doing pretty good this week, it doesn't. Then what's the show? There's several episodes where he is very imperiled by his involvement, and it's been a great ride. The one actually about collective blindness is one that is very, very bad. And then the one we're about to start shooting, which is not to tip anything, but it's called Asylum. It's that's not good for him either.
And it's interesting. We kind of skipped over his rehab, which is great because really then he can go nuts again. I mean, that's the point, right? I shouldn't say that. He should lose his stability.
Here's the nail. Here's you. Hit it. Yes, that's it. You got it. But that's true. That's true. I mean,
At the same time, but I think I felt more of, as soon as you realize where he was, that's why we picked up. But you feel like maybe he could lose it more this time.
Well, I think that was the brilliance I thought of Ken taking it as far as he did last year. There's one moment where we're like, it's the end of the first season, and he's going to go. But I think it reminded the audience, this is what we're talking about.
Right. It's not a game.
It's not a game.
Or a tool to solve.
And if he doesn't keep the balance, and if the wiki isn't there to keep his life balanced, and if he doesn't eat on time and wear the same shoes, whatever he needs to do, this is how far it can go. So I think it's actually up the jeopardy to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We're going to switch just so we don't run out of
This
time.
is fun.
Thank you, guys. We're going to switch corners.
Thanks for watching the Red Carpet Report. If you like this video, be sure to like it, and for more interviews, subscribe. And be sure to watch the season premiere of Perception on June 25th.